Uptight sister-in-law banned my wife from her baby shower over a joke. My sister-in-law, female 31, disinvited my wife, female 28, from her baby shower after a joke, but my brother, male 35, still wants me, male 30, to go. I am stuck in the middle. I, male 30, recently married the love of my life, female 28, and I'm super close with my brother, male 35. We always imagined our families being close too until one single lunch ruined everything. So my wife and I went out to eat with my brother and my sister-in-law, female 31, who is pregnant and about to give birth to my first nephew. Needless to say, we are all very excited. Then mid-meal, my brother, probably feeling sentimental, goes, "Man, I hope the baby turns out like OP. He was such a cute kid." Now a bit about my sister-in-law. She's usually nice and I like her, but she's definitely type A and a bit high maintenance. Without missing a beat, she shuts my brother down. "No, I'd much rather he turn out like you." A bit of an awkward comment, and my brother probably thought so as well. So he goes, "No, seriously, we'd be lucky if the kid was like OP. He was such a nice and cute kid." And then sister-in-law doubles down. "No, but you're so much more handsome," before turning to look directly at me and adding, "No offense." Now look, I wasn't deeply offended. My brother is a very good-looking guy, so I get it, but who just says that out loud? My wife, who had been quiet up to this point, clearly found it rude. So she jokingly goes, "Well, as long as the baby doesn't look like sister-in-law, we should be fine." I chuckled. My brother laughed. Sister-in-law did not laugh. She immediately got pissed, glared at my wife, and went, "What the hell does that mean? That's extremely rude. We're not close enough for jokes like that." My wife was taken aback and so was I. My brother tried to say something, but she stormed out. My brother followed her, looking about as confused as I felt. Fast forward to today. Sister-in-law has officially disinvited my wife from the baby shower and celebration. My wife says she doesn't even want to go. Which, fair enough. My brother is devastated and really wants me to be there. Now here's the thing. My brother adores me. He's always been my biggest supporter and he wants me to be a big part of my nephew's life. He's having his first child, and this moment is really important to him. I love my brother too and can't see him sad like that. He says both my wife and sister-in-law need to apologize eventually, but we shouldn't force it right now and give them some time to cool off. He also thinks sister-in-law owes me an apology for what she said. But again, pregnancy hormones or whatever. So he doesn't want to push it yet. My parents actually side with my wife and think sister-in-law was out of line first, but they also believe I should miss such a huge moment in my brother's life and that we should cut sister-in-law some slack because of her pregnancy. Here's my issue. I don't feel right going if my wife isn't welcome. I want to support her, but I also know this moment means the world to my brother. If I go, my wife might feel abandoned. If I don't, my brother will be heartbroken. I feel completely stuck. Oh, this whole thing blew up way more than it needed to. Yeah, your sister-in-law's comment was unnecessary, but your wife's comeback definitely escalated things. I get why your sister-in-law was offended, but banning your wife from the baby shower, that's just making it worse. Your brother knows she overreacted, but he's stuck keeping the peace. Now as to what you should do, you back your wife, but be real with her. If she's willing to say, "Hey, I didn't mean to be rude," this could blow over fast. You also need to talk to your brother and tell him that you want to be there, but you can't ignore that your wife's been iced out. So for me, the way to go would be to try for your wife and sister-in-law to make peace. This isn't about taking sides. It's about handling it like an adult. If everyone just admitted they overreacted, this could be solved in 5 minutes. If they won't, then you make the call based on who's actually trying to move forward. But on principle, you stand by your wife. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section. And now let's check out the community comments. Another Dominion says, "You stay home with your wife. Send a gift. Your brother has to deal with his wife." Grunt Bugly says, "Pregnancy hormones are a real thing. Definitely don't force anything until the sister-in-law is ready." You should definitely sit this one out with your wife. Your wife is your nuclear family now. And as much as you love your brother, him and his wife come second in your list of priorities now. Cheska1234 says, "So the mom-to-be wants her baby to look like her husband, the father. She believes the man she is married to and in love with is more handsome than anyone else. And your wife got offended and called the mom ugly? What the F? Tell me I missed something." And Much Too Busy says, "This whole conversation is so weird to begin with. Your brother saying you were a cute kid and he hopes his son turns out like you isn't too bad. But when his wife, who is very pregnant with his child, says that she would prefer that their child resemble him, it should have stopped there. It's honestly bizarre that your brother would argue that, and if I were his wife, I'd be put out by that too. Of course, she thinks her husband is better looking. It's utterly wild that your wife would find that insulting. For your wife to then insult your sister-in-law by saying it would be terrible for her child to resemble her is unbelievably mean. There is no excuse for that. Your brother owes his wife a little apology and your wife owes her a big apology. I really don't know if I were her if I'd forgive your wife, to be honest. That was a terrible thing to say to a pregnant woman. Additional information from Ops comments. To be fair, I wasn't really offended. I am not insecure about my looks, and I am glad that my sister-in-law finds my brother more attractive. That's the way it should be. But what my sister-in-law said did kind of offend my wife and hence the stupid argument. Also, knowing my wife, she will definitely said that I should go. But I also feel that deep down, she will feel that I didn't stick up for her while she did stick up for me. I think the community was able to give OP varied perspectives on how to navigate this thing and how to look at it from different angles. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Thanks everyone for the replies. I think I read almost every single one. I really appreciated the different perspectives. First, some clarifications. 1. My wife is not a mean person. She made a joke in the moment. Although I admit that it wasn't a great joke given the sensitivity of the situation, but she's genuinely one of the kindest, most caring people I know. That's one of the reasons I love her so much. 2. I don't think my brother did anything wrong by bringing up the topic. We were reminiscing about childhood and he probably got nostalgic about having his little brother following him everywhere. My brother and I resemble each other quite a bit, though he's definitely the better looking one. Funny how that works, and just to be clear, that doesn't mean I'm insecure. If anything, he's the outlier. He's one of those people who naturally turns heads. Even when we were younger, he'd get random girls hitting on him wherever we went. It was such a running joke in our family that even my parents would tease him about it. And 3, the entire conversation lasted less than 5 minutes and escalated very quickly. I agree with the comments that all of us should have handled the situation better, but easier to say that in hindsight. In real time, things just got out of hand very quickly. I am sure that all of us regret what we said in the moment. Now for the actual update. I told my wife that I wouldn't go unless she was also invited. She immediately told me that she didn't want to be the reason I missed it and that I should go if I wanted to. She even said she'd be willing to apologize if my sister-in-law was open to it, but that she wouldn't attend even if re-invited because she'd feel uncomfortable. I told her I appreciated that, but for me, it was both of us or none of us. Then I called my brother, and this is where I have to give him a lot of credit because I know he was upset. He had really wanted me there and I could hear the disappointment in his voice, but instead of pushing, he just said, "I get it, man. Don't worry about it." I know that wasn't easy for him to say. He had to balance keeping things calm with his wife while also wanting his brother by his side. But he didn't guilt-trip me, didn't try to convince me otherwise. He just let me make my choice. He even said, "Don't worry. We'll save you guys some food, and I'll drop it off later." I offered to help with setup if he needed it and told him to say I have COVID to avoid awkward questions. He just laughed and said, "Got it. You caught the world's shortest COVID just long enough for the baby shower, but miraculously recovered the next day." Now here's where things got a bit more complicated. My mom was not happy with him for not sorting this out earlier. She felt like he should have stepped in and made peace before it got to the point where my wife was uninvited. But my parents didn't say anything directly because they didn't want to get involved in the drama. I think that really weighed on him. He was already trying to navigate a tough situation and now he had our parents silently judging him too. It put him in an impossible position trying to be a good husband, a good brother, and a good son all at once. A couple of days passed with no further drama. Then something unexpected happened. My wife got a call from sister-in-law. At first, my wife panicked thinking she was about to get yelled at, but instead, they actually had a really good conversation. I overheard bits of it, including my wife saying, "No, you're gorgeous," which made me laugh a little. After the call, my wife told me that sister-in-law actually apologized first. She admitted that she'd been feeling really self-conscious about her looks during pregnancy and that my wife's joke had hit a sore spot. A little later, my brother called me. He told me that he had gently talked to sister-in-law and helped her see that things had gotten out of hand. He also told me that knowing my wife was willing to apologize had made a huge difference, and then he admitted something. He had wanted to fix things before the baby shower, but he knew his wife was already under a lot of stress. He didn't want to add more pressure on her while she was in the middle of planning. And honestly, I respect that. My sister-in-law is one of those people who needs everything to be perfect. Her look, my brother's look, the house, the decorations, etc. So I can understand the pressure she must have put on herself, and my brother knew that pushing her while she was dressed wouldn't have helped, so he waited. And after the event, when things calmed down, he quietly stepped in and fixed things. So where do things stand now? Things seem good on the surface. My wife and sister-in-law made peace, and my brother and I are fine. My wife and I have decided to just be extra sensitive around sister-in-law given what she is going through. All in all, The situation seems to have brought us somewhat closer together. The real takeaway: I have an amazing wife, but her humor could use some work. Also, my brother ain't too bad. Side note, speaking of whom, my brother will probably never see this post because he only uses Reddit for sports and news, or so he says. But in the off chance he does, well, guess I'm busted. But since I have your attention, I will admit something just this once. You were the best bro I could have asked for. That time you helped me for uni, I don't think you know how much it really meant to me. And when I was at a really low point, you stood by me. I don't think I've ever said it, but I've always appreciated that. Of course, I won't ever admit this in person and will forever deny that I ever wrote this. Offset it. Everyone keeps asking why my wife didn't apologize first. I thought I made it clear in the post, but maybe not. My wife was going to apologize, but wanted to check if sister-in-law was open to it. She had just been uninvited, so we had no idea whether my sister-in-law was even open to talking to her. I had told my brother that my wife wanted to apologize, and if he had given us the green light, my wife would have absolutely called. Instead, my sister-in-law decided to call once my brother told her that my wife wanted to apologize. That was her being the bigger person. Well, OP, it sounds like a good and positive update to me. You and your brother, with time, were able to diffuse the whole situation, and now things are slowly getting back on track. So here's wishing you all the best in the future. Thanks so much for sharing and take care. And now let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit, Am I Be a Hole? And it's by user, SSD Jammed. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay my wife while we are separated? For context, my wife went through some trauma and has not been using appropriate coping skills or seeking help. Instead, she is going through a complete midlife crisis of sorts, including leaving me rather unexpectedly. We are in counseling, but as of now, she cannot commit to anything other than a walk once a week. We barely speak. More context: I work 3 jobs. The original plan was to stack and stack to go travel and possibly foster children eventually. She works 1 job. I pay all of her and my bills with the exception of her cell phone bill and a quarter of the car payment. I was feeling quite resentful because she had been ignoring all of my messages for about a week. I saw that she was ordering food through a delivery service, so I changed my password. I saw she was also attempting to buy groceries on a similar app, so I took her off all of them. She then asked me for $150 a week for expenses. I've paid it for about a month and I'm sick of it. We had talked about going to Greece as a couple. Now, she can't even commit to more than a walk a week with me and maybe 3 messages a day. No plan to get back together anytime soon. She says she's enjoying aspects of being single, so I'm pissed. I want to go to Greece by myself and reap the benefits of my hard labor. I stopped paying for her. My counselor told me that stopping payment is akin to abuse, but I think that working 3 jobs and sacrificing my mental and physical health so my estranged wife can do God knows what on my dime is also abuse. I'm standing my ground and not paying her weekly. Am I the a-hole since I pay all of her other bills? This seems quite reasonable. I'm not going to stop paying her bills except maybe her gym membership. That's not essential. Am I the a-hole? No. OP. You are not the a-hole. You've been financially supporting your wife completely even after she emotionally and physically checked out of the marriage. She's essentially living as a single person on your money, and your counselor saying that cutting off the extra money is akin to abuse is wildly off base. Abuse is about control and power. This is about boundaries and fairness. So stop the extra payments. If she wants spending money, she can work for it. Then decide what you actually want from this marriage. Do you actually see a future here, or are you just afraid to let go? Finally, go to Greece. You earned it. You're not abandoning her. You're just stopping the financial bleed while she figures out what she wants. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section. And now let's check out the community comments. Duchess Witch says, I would call a lawyer. Here said lawyer and file for divorce. Your lawyer will handle everything including any obligated payments, if any. Stop communicating with her effectively now. Full Pace 7666 says, your therapist effing sucks. Get a new one. But, OP, it sounds like your marriage is over, and it might be worth lawyering up and separating legally if she has zero intention of working it out. Not the irrelevant demand 7593 says, not that you are separated and do not have children. She's not your responsibility anymore. If she is enjoying being single, then she should get the full experience, bills and all. I feel like she's stringing you along so she can be single and have her bills paid. Offset it. The trauma was her grandfather dying. She was close to him. And about a year later, her dad died. Neither deaths were unexpected. Grandpa was 91, and Dad had been battling lung cancer while continuing to smoke for about 4 years. It was traumatic because she was very close to both of them, and when her dad died, it was in the midst of COVID, so she wasn't able to say a real goodbye. Grandpa died 3 years ago. Dad died 2 years ago. Edit 2. To clarify, Not that it matters, this is a women-loving women marriage. We have a prenup that delineates what property was pre-marriage, my house, my cars, my business, and prohibits spousal support. I am giving her spending money out of the kindness of my heart, not due to any legal obligation. It also pissed me off to see her ordering stuff on my accounts. I'd rather just give her the money because it hurt my feelings. 3. The counselor we are seeing is a licensed marriage, family, and trauma therapist, fully licensed and came highly recommended. In terms of where does the money go, she spends a lot of the time involved in sports clubs. She's on intramural teams and participates in social events for all of them. She goes out with her friends a lot. Nails every 2 weeks, hair once a month or more, clothes, shoes, accessories, brunch, dinner, etc. Not great places to be spending her money, but it's her choice. Well, the community was reading OP the writing on the wall. So let's see if she paid attention and move on to the update to see how this story ends. On our weekly walk, I told her that I'm saving up to go to Greece on a luxury tour. Before she left, we were choosing between Greece, Thailand, and Alaska. I gave her the opportunity to come with me, which she declined. Who declines a luxury trip to Greece? What the F? I told her that I am going to stop payments to non-essential goods and services such as her gym membership, product subscription services, Amazon account, media subscriptions, etc. I will continue to pay the car and car insurance as long as there is an equal effort on her end to mend the relationship. She replied by telling me she got a puppy and she wanted to cancel our weekend walks. I have divorce papers drawn out and depending on how therapy goes tomorrow, I may soon be officially single. Well, Opie, at least now there is no doubt in your mind that this is the right choice. So here's wishing that you have an awesome time on your new single trip to Greece.